What's up, guys? Today I want to go over a couple punches from Canelo Alvarez, including excellent mechanics with a jab and then also his hook. So I've been seeing still a bunch of videos online of these guys showing you how to do these punches, robotic style, jab, hooks where they're pivoting on their front foot. And I got to tell you guys, it's completely wrong. All right, I don't know where they got this information. It's just guys repeating wrong stuff over and over and over again. Eventually, they think it's the right thing, I guess. They don't have any other sort of perspective. But it's 100% wrong, and it's going to hurt you in the long run. If you want to punch with professional mechanics, what I teach, what I show, is the way how to do it. So first, I want to look at Canelo doing it in full speed. Then we're going to slow it down, and I'm going to show you exactly what muscles and what kinetic chains are involved. So the more muscles, the more kinetic chains, which are chains of muscle that travel throughout your body, which are really involved in virtually every athletic movement, whether it's throwing a ball, throwing a punch, swinging a baseball bat, swinging a tennis racket. The more kinetic chains you're able to utilize, the more power you're going to be able to generate. So let's watch this in full speed. Pay attention. Canelo, he's opening his hips. He's moving his, on your left, he's moving his right hip backwards to rotate his trunk, his torso. And he also has some back to front movement where he's catching his momentum with his lead foot, bringing his body back into a position to be able to explode with another punch. Let's watch it again. Hips are rotating back, and he's moving his body from back to front. So there's two planes of motion for his hips. Let's watch it again. Okay, now I'm going to show you a graphic with the different chains and what it looks like. So right here, you're going to see him using the superficial front line with the quads muscles, to push his hip back, his rear hip relative to his target. He's moving it back. And then to get the back to front motion going, or let's say side to side motion, right? He's using this lateral line, which involves the lateral hip muscles. Then when his hip is rotating, he's using his cross body kinetic chain, specifically the spiral line, which includes, on your left in yellow, internal oblique, and then the orange external oblique, which then goes into the serratus, into the shoulder. And finally, he's using the front functional line, which starts with the adductor, goes into the abs, and then into the big pec muscle on the opposite side. This chain is used big time in any sort of throw or like a tennis serve, and also obviously when throwing a punch. So you combine that all together, and you got someone who's using many different chains to power their body to explode with torque, acceleration that peaks in the moment he makes contact with the bag, in this case, or your opponent in practice. So he's moving his hips back. Let's slow this down. Okay, so you see that. He's moving the hip on your left, moving it back and moving side to side, right? From your left to your right. And it's rotating his upper body, and that power is being transferred into his arm and then into the bag or the opponent. And that was a bit of an exaggeration, but it even more specifically highlights the type of movement that he's using. Superficial front line, right, with the quads. Lateral line with the lateral hip muscles and the TFL to get that side-to-side motion going. Cross body kinetic chains. On the left side, you got your internal oblique. On the right side, external oblique. And then front functional line, which is the big line involved in throwing, which goes from his the leg on our left, his right leg, with the adductors, big adductor muscle, into the abs, and then into the big pec on the left, which then links up with another kinetic chain, different arm lines, which then goes through the arm into the bag. I'll put this back at full speed. We'll watch it one more time, and then we'll go to his hook. So all the guys teaching you these robotic jabs, robotic hooks, it's not the way the pros are punching. You can learn how to do this. It just takes a little bit of practice. Just like you can throw a ball, you can learn how to punch with power using these types of mechanics. All right, now we're going to look at the hook in a second. So this is a lead hook, and you can tell because he's using his left hand, right? He's using his left hand with the jab. So he's not throwing a rear hook. Now, let's watch him. Now, there's actually a lot that I don't like about how Canelo throws his hook. I wasn't going to get into it. However, if I don't, then this video could be misleading. I don't want you to think that this is like picture perfect example of a hook. Now, the first thing that he does that I don't like, he's letting his heel come off the ground when he could generate more power by keeping it flat. Now, the most important thing is creating hip extension to power the hip rotation. However you do it, you know that's okay. You can for sure generate more hip extension and more power when you're pushing off of a flat foot. Now, based on your movement, based on your position relative to your opponent, based on other factors, it could come up. However, pushing off from a flat foot is going to be able to generate more power. I think Canelo lacks some hip flexibility, which would do it as well. Lack of hip flexibility will also cause your knee to come in, and it shouldn't be doing that. You should try to avoid that. The most important thing is hip extension and rotation to power the punch. So keep that in mind. Additionally, he's trying way too hard. He doesn't need to try to force so much in his punch. Canelo here looks like he's trying to muscle the punch. You can see a lot of guys throw powerful shots and it looks effortless, right? Because they're really utilizing their kinetic chains. Canelo here, he's utilizing some, and I'm going to show you which ones he's utilizing. However, there are better examples of boxers who throw beautiful hooks. I'm going to keep using this one just to show you the anatomy. However, I'll look through my collection to really try to find some perfect examples of hooks. If you want to see me break it down in more detail, I have a couple videos on my channel about how to throw a hook. So the first thing he does is not pivot on his front foot. He's pushing off his front foot to rotate his hips. Now he's using the big glute muscles that you're going to see here, the back functional line, right? What does that do? It extends the hip, meaning it brings it from front to back, just like when you're pushing off with a sprint or something. Power with his glutes, powering his hips into rotation, and he's extending his hip when he does that. So he's bending down, and then he's using that glute to propel his hip forward. The next muscle that gets used, if he's powering his left hip forward, that right one is coming back and is creating a stretch in his cross-body kinetic chains, the spiral chain. In yellow, you see the internal oblique, and in orange, you see the external oblique. External oblique links up with the serratus anterior, which goes directly into the shoulder blade. And finally, the front functional line in blue, which crosses the body and eventually runs into the pec where it meets up with the arm line. So you got that big kinetic chain. And then you have the arm line that it links up to. So the pec and the lat link up into the arm as the superficial arm line. And I'm not going to go into that here. However, just know the latissimus dorsi is a part of it. A lot of its responsibility is to stabilize the arm while it's moving. So it's a cascade of events, right? It's not one singular robotic movement that involves a pivot on the front foot, on the lead foot. He's using all of these kinetic chains along with a flat foot on the ground to power his hips into rotation. He's not pivoting his body. He's using these kinetic chains appropriately with a big explosion of hip rotation that's first of all powered by the glutes. So let's watch that again. Like I said, I got some critiques on his technique here. For all intents and purposes though, it's okay and it's good enough for me to use as an example. And notice that he's landing with his front knuckles here rather than his main knuckles. So he's landing a little bit prematurely. However, he's not turning his arm over with the hook. Naturally, this is a body. He's doing a hook to the body here. But this is the way you should be throwing the hook, with your landing with your palm facing you. And I go into that in another video. All right, so that's about it. I hope this was enjoyable. I hope it was worthwhile. I hope you learned something. If you want to learn these mechanics for yourself so you can really generate as much power as you possibly can, I have a program called the Power Punching Blueprint. It's in total over 2 hours of instruction and takes you from the basics, from getting your stance to learning how to power your hips to generate power in every single punch. So check that out. You can get that at howtopunchharder.com. If you have any questions or anything, please leave it in the comments. Anything specific you want help with or you have questions about, feel free to ask it. And either I'll answer it in the comments or I'll make a video about it. Anyway, I hope to bring you more. I know it's been a lot since the last one, but I'll see you in the next video. See you soon. Bye.